This is the Reality Radio Network on Telstar 5 Transponder 5 and on the internet at realityradionetwork.com.
Anyway, following Azazel being placed inside the earth, inside the cave there that's at Dudale, the others who participated with him, and also their offspring, the Nephilim, Enoch says that they were bound. We talked the other day about the magic casetot. He says that they're bound, they're pinned down under the hills of the earth. That's exactly what Enoch says. That's an exact quote. Under the hills of the earth. In fact, the rest of that verse says, where they will remain for 70 generations until the day of judgment. End quote. Now, Steve, this is where things start getting really interesting. And astonishingly, as many times as I had read this text, I never saw this until this week. And I emailed you and I said, Steve, I have found something astonishing. And I triple checked myself on this to make sure that I was correct. Many people mistakenly believe that all of the spirits of these giants went into everlasting chains of judgment, never to be released again, right?
Right.
Not only is that not what the Bible says, it's also not what the apocryphal pseudepigrapha says. For instance, in the book of Jubilees, chapter 10, verses 7 through 12, it talks about the malignant evil ones. These are the spirits. If you read the whole text, this is very clear.
Sure, and those are the ones Paul's talking about in Ephesians 6, too.
That's exactly right. These are the spirits of the Nephilim who were destroyed in the flood. He says they were bound in the place of condemnation. Now, this is interesting to me. There is a place, and it is the place called condemnation. It's a specific place. It's a specific location. They were bound there. Then Jubilees goes on, but a tenth part of them are left, that they might be subject before Satan, listen, on earth. And now Jubilees goes on. These will be for corruption and leading astray men before Satan's judgment, end quote. That's the book of Jubilees 10, 7 through 12. So there is a specific place of condemnation where they've been bound. A tenth of them are going to be loosed before Satan is judged. They're going to be loosed on the earth, and their purpose is for corruption and destruction and the leading astray of mankind before Satan is judged. Now, I want to read one other text that I think that corresponds to this. Enoch 15:9 says, the spirits of the Nephilim are as clouds, which shall oppress, corrupt, fall, and bruise upon earth. Now, listen to this. They shall be concealed, and shall not rise up against the sons of men until they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. Enoch 15:9. Well, Steve, obviously the days of slaughter and destruction haven't occurred yet. They're still concealed. And Enoch is a prophet of truth, given the fact that the New Testament writers quote him. I'm assuming they believed he was a prophet of truth.
Right, and the Bible does record that he was not, because he walked with God and God took him. And you and I both know, Tom, and this is something people need to understand, the book of Enoch is referred to in the New Testament. There are references in the Old Testament, and Enoch is not, how should I say this, he's in a category of only two men in the history of the world that have never died, he and Elijah, which, should probably say, okay, God is holding him out or is giving him something. As you know, we only have a few of the books of Enoch versus the entire works of Enoch.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's stated, ladies and gentlemen, that Enoch had, 365 volumes?
Yeah, well, listen, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to show you something. Since I've never read this before, Steve, I doubt that most people, maybe nobody, who's listening to this program has ever seen this before. When the book of Enoch says that these things are being concealed And they shall not rise up against the Son of Man until they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. Enoch 15:9. When is this day of judgment? When are the giants going to be released from their concealed, hidden places inside the mountains and below the earth's soils to bring slaughter and judgment upon earth? Steve, did you see recently the research on and the television special called Mega Disasters Killer Comets?
Yes.
Okay, and so you know that it offered, now these weren't religious programs, but they were offering scientific evidence for the flood of the Old Testament. Now they, because they're secularists, they don't buy the idea that it was a divine thing. They're thinking a big comet or whatever created it. But setting aside the fact that they don't approach this from a religious point of view, their science makes this very strong case for a devastating flood of biblical proportions, which they say happened at approximately the year 2892, or to round it off, 2900. What struck me about these reports, Steve, was that this same dating, the year 2800 to 2900 years before Christ, that's been emerging in scholarship in recent years. And people can look this up. They'll find dozens of scholars who believe that 2800 to 2900 years ago is the likely time of the biblical flood. You'll also find scholars who say that's probably the time when the zodiacs were created, but more importantly, you'll also find that that's the time when most people believe Enoch, who wrote his apocryphal books and visions, lived. So, scholars and scientists, both now, support the Great Flood and the life of Enoch dating of approximately 2900 BC. Steve, the reason why this could be extraordinarily important is that Enoch said in Enoch chapter 10 that the sons of the watchers, the giant Nephilim, those who were physically killed in the flood, that they would be buried, actually bound or binded in the hills of the earth, the text says, beneath the hills of the earth, contained inside the mountains of the earth. Now listen, this is what he says. He says that they would be bound there for 70 generations before they are released to come forth for judgment. Now,
I see where you're going.
Now, some people say that a biblical generation is 40 years, and some people say that a biblical generation is 70 years, and both are right because it depends on the context within which they're interpreting that. But guess what, Steve? Enoch's is at 70 years, and 70 generations is his prophecy of 70 years equals 4,900. 70 times 70 is 4,900 years forward from the time of the flood, because he said that from the time of the flood, when they were destroyed, they would remain inside the earth for 70 generations, which the scientists and scholars now are saying occurred approximately 2892 BC. Steve, this just came to me this week. If you add 2892 BC to the year 2008 AD, it equals exactly 4,900 total years from the time of the flood forward. Or another way of saying this is that Enoch's prediction about the release date for those who were imprisoned in the earth at the time of the flood brings us to the year AD 2008 exactly, today, now.
Whoa, Tom. Whoa. And I mean literally whoa. If that is, and I've never seen that, and again, you just blew my mind. Thank you. I mean that genuinely. Thank you.